right, welcome everyone to our latest edition of Get to Know Our Executive Team. My name's Jeff Branch. I'm the President and CEO of Lutheran Social Ministries of Maryland. And this is...
I'm Paige Mills-Haag, Vice President of Philanthropy with Lutheran Social Ministries of Maryland.
Now, Paige, tell everybody how long you've been here. You've been avoiding this for a long time.
I have. I have avoided it for 16 months now. And I'm actually really happy to be here with you, Jeff, and look forward to sharing more.
In fairness to Paige, we've tried to schedule this a few times, so we apologize for taking so long to get this out in front of you, but I'm excited to have an opportunity for you to get to know Paige and who's leading our philanthropy efforts here at our organization. So thanks for taking the time to join us. So we'll start with the easiest one of all. What made you join LSMMD?
Well, I really admired your leadership and the way that you spoke about the mission and the vision, and especially our core values, and that our core values are incorporated into every single piece of what our organization does, what we stand for. Core values are more than just on our website, on a plaque, hanging on the walls of our community, but really a place from which we make decisions. And that is what really brought me to LSMMD.
So just a little background about Paige is that when we were going through the interview process,
yes,
Paige and I spent a couple different days together.
We did. We had a 3.5 hour conversation.
Yes,
as a matter of fact.
And part of that conversation was really geared around what is it like to be here and what's the ultimate goal. And I can tell you, Paige's majority of her conversation outside of the business of philanthropy was about what it is, what are your core values, what's meaningful to this organization, and it really spoke to me because it's something that culturally everybody has to buy into, number one, and it comes in different forms. The other piece of it is, how do you then apply it to what you do? And I think that that's the toughest thing for all of us, to identify those ways to infuse it in our work. And I think philanthropy is one of those areas where you have to be at times it has to be right there in your face, and then at times it needs to be subtly in the mix. And you've done a wonderful job in the first 16 months of being able to pull that off.
Thank you.
So it kind of leads me, maybe I should have started with this question, is what got you into aging services?
Wow, that's a great question. So I will share a little bit. My career started in for-profit, and about 15 years into that, I started thinking, is there more? And how can I make an impact where I choose to serve? And I cast a very wide net and started learning about nonprofit organizations and different missions. At the time I was living in Oklahoma City, and was really inspired by what I heard and the difference that nonprofit and specifically nonprofit faith-based organizations can make, based on their mission. So I served in nonprofit organizations for about 7-8 years, and then I, interesting enough, learned that there are nonprofit faith-based retirement communities. I think that's a misconception a little bit. A lot of people think that there's for-profit retirement communities, and once I really started exploring what that might look like to lead philanthropy and aging services, I started working for a community in Oklahoma City where I built a fundraising program from the ground up, started a development committee and a ladies auxiliary, and ultimately formed a foundation as a philanthropic arm of the community, and was very much feeling like that was my purpose, and that's where God was calling me to serve. I served there for 9 years, and ultimately my path led here to Lutheran Social Ministries of Maryland, and I feel like this is where I'm called to serve, and I love it. And a lot of what attracts me about Lutheran Social Ministries of Maryland and leading philanthropy for our communities is the relationships that I get to build with residents. That's what attracts me most to this work, getting to know residents and their families and their values and their faith and the different, organizations and ministries that they like to support. And that's what brings me joy in doing this work.
There's so many things that I've been really impressed by since Paige started, and it goes back to the basics of how you build a program out. And while we had established philanthropy departments, I would say that was an opportunity for us to reassess, to identify how we went about just general fundraising, how we went about sharing information about our various funds. And that's always been a real question from our residents. And we knew we needed to do better in that area. And I think for us, the way that you approached it, the way you educated all of us, including the residents, but also laid the groundwork for how the future was going to be in this department, I think has made a measurable difference. You see that in some of our campaigns, specifically at Miller's Grant, with our Chapel and Performing Arts Center. We have made huge leaps and bounds. We're seeing that in other areas as well. But I'd also like to comment about what you said about faith. That is one of the first things that you had mentioned to me in terms of being attracted to this organization.
Absolutely.
We have been blessed that we have had a number of team members who've led with, one of the things that was really important to me was this organization has a faith-driven approach. Some of it was about being Lutheran, and certainly you had your attachments there. All of that makes a difference when it's coupled with somebody who has an incredible career behind them to fill those shoes. And so I think when you're able to mold those two together, it makes a big difference. Where I've seen that play out quite a bit is understanding our mission, but also through those connections outside of our organization.
Right.
One of the questions that have been asked of me many, many times is, who are you connected to outside of this organization from a faith-based perspective? And I can't, if you ever are curious, you should touch base with Paige, because the extensive connections that you've brought, some of them already existed, and maybe we didn't spend as much time as we should have there. And then others, you've brought those new focus points, and it makes a difference. They're new avenues for us. So.
No, I'm thrilled to do it, and I appreciate your kind words. I say one of the things that excites me most about this work, in addition to the relationships with residents and with donors, is building community partnerships. We have two beautiful, innovative, compassionate, caring communities, and we don't want to keep that a secret. And we do have wonderful community partners, corporate sponsors that support the mission of Miller's Grant and Carroll Lutheran Village, and there's more work to be done there. There's opportunities to partner with our local universities and hospitals and local nonprofits, and we do that in a number of different ways. And that is one thing that was really attractive to me whenever we first sat down and talked about me coming here to LSMMD.
So our audience knows this. We do like to bounce around and
do.
Bounce between the personal and the professional. We do try to keep this interview a little bit lighter than maybe our traditional day-to-day, for the purpose of just getting to know Paige. And so we're going to stick with that theme. Paige knows it's coming. She's been a good sport with us from the beginning, that we're going to range through some of these questions. So where do you live right now?
Columbia. And I'm so excited to say that my husband and I live in Columbia, Maryland, because I was driving a very long ways to work every day. Previously lived in Prince George's County, and that was a 3-hour round trip drive. So my husband and I made the move to Columbia in October of last year, and I am very blessed to have a 15-minute drive to the Miller's Grant and about 45 minutes to our Main Street office in Westminster and Carroll Lutheran Village. And we love it. It's such a welcoming community. We've got a nice home there, lots of walking trails, lots of wildlife, and all the conveniences that we were looking for So I'm excited.
Fun to explore a new area.
It is. We've done a lot. I feel like I'm a tourist sometime in my own town, but it's been fun to get out and dine at the different, restaurants and do a little sightseeing here and there. So
I think what's really neat about where you moved is that I know where you used to live pretty well.
Yes.
That was more my neck of the woods as well, but on the Virginia side of the bridge. And I think for that area, you're so DC oriented.
Very much.
When you come to Columbia, you have just a different feel to it.
It does. Yeah, it's very unique.
It's almost like you really moved out of town.
Yeah.
But then there's all those modern conveniences of two big cities directly in between there.
Absolutely. We love it.
Yeah, I love Columbia. I thought that was a great choice.
It's a great community.
So what would you like to share about your family?
Well, I can share that I'm married to my husband, Kim. We are celebrating our 22-year anniversary in July.
That's exciting.
I have 2 children, my stepson, Ian, and daughter-in-law, Audrey, and 3 grandchildren, 13, 11, and 3, Lauren, Emma, and Bowden. And then I have a stepdaughter, Dana, and grandson, Malachi, and he is 15. And we've got families spread out all over. They are in Asheville, North Carolina, and then Dana and Malachi are in Houston, Texas.
Oh, wow.
And we've got, we have, my parents are in Oklahoma. We have family in Kansas, Missouri, New Jersey. So a lot of our travel, as you can imagine, and I imagine a lot of people can relate to this, a lot of our travel and our vacations are to go and visit our family, our kids and grandkids and parents. So
we share some of those Midwest connections.
We do.
We've talked about that, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Oklahoma City. I'm a native Okie.
Yeah.
Okie from Muskogee. So
not a Sooner.
I am not a Sooner. I could go on about that. I actually, and anybody that's from the Midwest and specifically Oklahoma would know what house divided means. I am married to a diehard Oklahoma Sooners football fan, and I went to college at Oklahoma State University, and I am Oklahoma State Cowboys, go Pokes all the way. I own more orange than any person should own. And like 30 t-shirts, sweatshirts that are orange, my school colors, but we're house divided and big football fans, if you couldn't tell. So
I love it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to flip back to work. So what can you tell us about your role as VP of Philanthropy?
Well, my role, I've been in the position for about 16 months. When I came on board initially, wanted to create a new strategic direction for the organization. Really came in and evaluated where we had found successes with philanthropy and communications to our donors and all of our stakeholder groups, and setting a new course for what philanthropy will look like going forward, and developed a new strategic plan. Worked with my team and with Jeff and some other leaders of the organization to roll that out to our stakeholders and board of trustees, and I'm excited to say it's been embraced very well. We've moved away from 3 or 4 fundraising appeals throughout the year, and we are now doing an annual fund campaign at each of our communities, and inviting residents, team members, and everyone to fund our mission through that. So it's been exciting to see those successful campaigns last fall. We look forward to doing that again this year with a big community celebration and kickoff, and not just invite residents and team members, but get all of our vendors and suppliers, our corporate sponsors, community partners, board of trustees. It's really going to be an opportunity to bring people together that care deeply about our mission of serving the aging, and so we're rocking and rolling and having a good time raising funds.
So give me 2 to 3 takeaways that you have in that first amount of time that you described.
Oh gosh.
Good or bad?
Takeaways.
Look at those opportunities.
I think takeaways, having worked in aging services for the last 14 years, one takeaway is just we can always do a better job of communicating with people who want to support our mission, and looking at ways to get our message out and invite people who are philanthropic to be able to contribute in ways that are meaningful. And so that's like one of my biggest takeaways is, how can we improve communications to the community, to the broader community, beyond the walls of our campus here, and do that in a way that, it's landing with all of our key stakeholders. So that's been probably the biggest takeaway. We've gotten creative and doing some different tests to see what lands, but more importantly, listening to our donors, listening to people who have been supporting us for years, and pivoting and changing direction based on the feedback that we're getting from the people who are supporting our mission. I think that's the most important thing that I've learned over the course of the last 16 months.
Yeah, so you mentioned change a couple of times. Change is just incredibly hard.
It is, of course.
So information plays a role in that. I can tell you that there's probably not a one size fits all, depending on the recipient of that information. We know that we're oftentimes going to have to touch base more than one time to all constituents on a variety of change initiatives. At the same time, I think you mentioned something that for me was really important, is that we recognize that there are philanthropy efforts that have been around for years and years that predate both Paige and I. We're very much supportive of those initiatives. And so I think when groups that are very passionate about those particular things need to reach out, talk to us if you're concerned. For us, it's important to find a home within philanthropy to make it work. But also to understand what the bigger picture goals are and how that opportunity supports those bigger picture goals.
Absolutely. And I will say that we are very blessed to have a lot of residents that are actively volunteering and supporting our mission through their volunteerism. I love that we have such an active volunteer group on both of our campuses, and it's finding a way to harness all of the good that has been happening for many decades, in some cases here at the Village, and working together in collaboration to fund our mission, in new and exciting ways. So I'm excited for that, and have an open door. We always invite feedback and new ideas, and so it's exciting. It's an exciting time.
So we're going to keep bouncing here.
All right.
So what's something unique that people don't know about you?
Probably the one thing is that my husband and I got married in a hot air balloon in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Yeah, that's
cool.
That is hot air ballooning is something that my husband and I started doing when we were dating. And we just loved it. It's become a part of our lives, and we thought, what better way to start our lives together than get married in a hot air balloon?
Yeah.
So
were there other people in the balloon besides
there
the
was
person
no
operating?
one else in the balloon. It was my husband and I and the person who officiated. So
oh wow, that's really beautiful sunset. Or was it something
it was
else?
Sunrise. It was actually sunrise.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was sunrise, and I mean it was beautiful and really special and meaningful for us. And
did Kim plan it all? Did you know?
No, we planned it together.
Okay.
We did. No, that would have been good though.
I was gonna say wow.
Impressive.
I was gonna say it's pretty good.
No, it's something that we really talked about and planned together, and it's just how we wanted to start our marriage off. And it was meaningful to us. A little out of the ordinary, possibly, for some folks, but it was memorable. And we when we go to visit new states, we try to do a hot air balloon ride. We got on a number of those, and it's special.
It's a great way to see.
It is. And different terrain at different places. Yeah. Yeah, we've done a lot of that.
So besides hot air ballooning,
Yes.
how otherwise do you spend your spare time?
Okay, so I love to garden.
Okay.
I love to garden, and I've got spring fever right now because
Vegetables or flowers or both?
flowers.
Okay.
I am a big, I'm so excited just to talk about it, honestly. The weather's warming up, spring is here. I'm excited. I have bought over 200 bulbs,
Wow.
flower bulbs already. I have purchased raised beds. I am ready to get soil and bulbs in, and it's my thing. It's therapy for me a little bit to get my hands in the dirt, and I just love flowers. I love plants. I'm gonna this is a confessional here. I have 28 house plants.
Wow.
I do. I have 28 house plants. It's a lot. It might be excessive to some, but I love it. And that's, on weekends I spend time with
So are you
my plants.
Are you pruning them and doing all
I
the
do.
care?
I do
Okay.
all the care. I do all the things.
Okay.
Like I stop short of talking to them or singing. I don't do that. I'm not, and that's no judgment there, but I really do. I enjoy being around just greenery, plants, sunlight, Yeah, it's what makes me happy. So I would say that's my hobby is
Well, I share that with you. I
a little
enjoy
gardening.
it as well. I'm less about the inside plants as I am about the outside.
I love plants.
I love being outside, and I love, like you said, kind of getting your hands dirty and working. Just a different feel for things, but it also just clears your mind, and it's nice to see the results when things work out.
You feel good when you installed a new landscape bed, and it's being outdoors and getting fresh air, and that's all of that. Yeah,
well,
it's hard work, but it's a great reward.
But then you get to sit out and enjoy it when it's all done. So I understand
that.
What's your favorite food?
Mexican food, hands down.
Yeah.
I love Mexican food and grew up eating a lot of Mexican food. My mom made the best enchiladas as a kid, and tacos. I mean, I love all kinds of Mexican food. And since we've moved to Maryland, this month will be 3 years that we've been in Maryland. Seafood, I can't get enough of seafood. We have a favorite restaurant that we go to. It's called the Chop Tank in Annapolis. It's right on the water, and I would say that's got a little bit of nice of Tex-Mex and seafood, and I love it. That's our favorite place to go.
Very nice.
I highly recommend it.
Do you have pets?
We do. We have a dog, Sierra. She's our senior pup. We've had her for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
She's a rescue retriever lab mix.
Okay.
And she's our senior puppy. She's still with us. We're really grateful for that. And then we have 2 cats.
That's what I thought.
Yes, okay. We're cat people too. We love all the pets, and they were from a local rescue. Actually, we've had them almost 2 years, Mia and Alani.
I find that's the best way to go about it. If you're getting
we like rescues.
A lot of pets that need homes.
They need their forever home. So
yes, they do.
Absolutely.
So what's on your bucket list?
Oh, travel. For us, it's travel. We've done so much travel in the U.S. A little bit of international travel, but not as much as what we'd like to. So bucket list. Greece is number one on the bucket list, the travel bucket list. Ireland would be a close second. My husband is Irish. His grandparents lived in Ireland, and that's pretty high on the bucket list as well.
That would be fun.
It would be fun. Well, time. Time.
Gotta make time.
Yeah, but we're actually doing some research now to try to get a trip planned in the fall. So
That'd be fantastic.
I hope we can make that happen.
Yeah,
So
you should.
excited. And really, I mean, for me, bucket list is more around travel and experiences. With the age of our grandchildren right now.
Yeah.
We very much want to be present for those school plays, cheerleading competitions, dance recitals, things like that is really something that we value. And so that's, maybe not a bucket list item, but that's something that we're prioritizing this
Right.
year as well.
There's no doubt how important that is to grandkids, especially, to have their grandparents there, and
100%.
all those things. As I realize, as I'm getting closer, where I have two now that are out of the house, and a third one that's getting ready to go to college. You start to think a little bit more about how short the time really is, and how each of these experiences matter so much.
And they do.
Every time you drive somebody to practice or whatever it might be, it can tire you out, but it's something that your kid or grandkid are always going to remember.
We just
makes a difference.
Did a little road trip to Winston-Salem about a month ago, and you drive 12 hours for a 10-minute cheerleading competition, but we would do it over and over and over again.
Well, one of the things that I found to that point that is extremely gratifying is that you can turn on the radio while you're driving your child or grandchild to wherever they're going, and just kind of zone out. My youngest child said, "Can we just not turn on the radio and just talk?" And that was like a wonderful lesson for me, because from then on, and it's been a while now, with all my kids, I just turn it off and we just talk. And sometimes it's a lot of silence, I admit. Not a whole lot coming from the other end. But I found it a great use of time.
Very nice.
And you end up learning a lot of different things. Some important, some just random, but an opportunity to take advantage of time that maybe before everybody's running a different direction. So but that's good you're able to do that. Hopefully you get to Ireland soon too.
Thank you. Hope so.
So I'm gonna end with one final question. I'm gonna go back to work.
Okay.
What do you like most about your role?
Oh gosh, I think just to be able to create new partnerships. You have given me autonomy to lead philanthropy for communities and really cast a wide net. We have so many wonderful things happening in our communities now. Great support from, especially here at Carroll Lutheran Village, great support from our corporate sponsors, and at Miller's Grant through golf tournament, walk, the annual fund campaign. And I think that, my favorite thing is looking at the broader community and finding ways to align ourselves, especially with organizations that have similar missions. And for me, that's what it's all about. It's building those community partnerships and relationships.
If you wouldn't mind expanding on that a little bit, one of the questions I'm asked most frequently about philanthropy, and I'll be direct about it, is oftentimes I'm asked, are we the only ones that you ask for help?
Right. I get that a lot. I do.
And what I find is that's a great opportunity today to really share a little deeper, because you just did a good job of summarizing, but we spend quite a bit of time working with organizations that are partners, and sometimes don't know they're going to be our partners. Would you like to talk a little bit more about that?
I could share a little bit more about that, and I'm happy to speak to that, because that's probably one of the most frequent questions that I get, particularly as we're doing a capital campaign, obviously the Performing Arts Center and Chapel campaign at Miller's Grant, and then an upcoming healthcare center campaign here at Carroll Lutheran Village. And residents want to know who besides them are supporting our mission through philanthropic investment. And much to their surprise, a lot of times when we share, it is local businesses here in the community that care. They are connected in some way. Maybe they had a loved one who lived here or lives here, or a son or daughter who served in culinary or nursing. And just meeting with community partners, local businesses, corporate sponsors, our universities, our hospitals, and other nonprofits, hearing the stories of how people are connected to our communities is really inspiring. And that's what gets me excited about the work that I get to do every day, and leading a team of professionals to fund our mission. that's what it's all about for me. And it's the relationships, truly getting to know people who desire to support us, whether it's through philanthropic investment, volunteerism, coming and doing a presentation or an education session. There's a lot of connecting points, and we are very fortunate to have two wonderful communities, and one in Howard County and one in Carroll County, smaller communities that are very well connected, and just finding unique ways that we can work together and support one another. I think there's a lot of strength in community.
I think both Paige and I could easily, there's certain names that come to mind that have been longtime supporters of our organization with substantial gifts. And a lot of those relationships stem back from a parent who lived with us at one time, kids that went to school or worked here. It's made a difference having those connections. We've been able to develop relationships over the years. Those same folks have been instrumental in driving conversations around what does the future look like, and how can I then engage, how can I be a part of that. And I've been impressed with that because in many cases we're talking 15, 20 years have gone by.
Right.
It's not a recent occurrence, and so to have the ability to make that connection last for that long says a whole lot about the work that's done in our communities and our teams. So I'm very proud of that, and certainly our philanthropy team helps nurture that along the way, but it does take a village, as we say.
It does. It does indeed. And we're really fortunate to have our member or sponsor churches as a Lutheran faith-based organization. That is, I think, what makes LSMMD in the village so special, is being a social ministry. It is just different than, when you go and look at maybe a for-profit retirement community. My family has personal experience. We had a loved one, my mother-in-law was in a for-profit community, and the difference that for-profit and nonprofit make as it relates to providing vital resident assistance too. That's one of the primary goals, is raising money for vital resident assistance for any residents who just simply outlive their resources due to unforeseen circumstances. And I think that's one of the things that makes us such a wonderful community and attractive to not just residents, but to their adult children as well. Just knowing mom and dad are going to receive quality, compassionate care, and also be taken care of should they ever outlive resources. And there's a lot of strength in being a social ministry organization and affiliated with the Evangelical Lutheran Church. So
I agree.
Yeah.
So we've reached the end of our Q&A. We hope everyone enjoyed getting to know Paige a little bit better. I encourage you to reach out directly to Paige. You can call her, you can email her, you can grab her in the hallways as you see her. She's just as personable as she is in this moment, so don't hesitate to ask if you have questions. But thank you for spending some time with us.